You wanted a date?
Sure.
March 4, 1919, Łódź, Poland.
Okay.
What else?
Tell me what life was like at home. Tell me about your family members.
Comparing with my life was better than some people with the food and living, but the life with I mean for all was very poor, and you were threatened if you were working on the different city or you were born in a Polish city, and you could get beat up.
Okay, tell me about your family.
My family, I had a mother and a father, and I had two more brothers, one older and one younger.
Tell me their names. Your father and your mother, their names.
One father and mother.
Their names.
Moshe Chaim, and Rachel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a brother, Baruch, and Daniel. And me.
Okay. And tell me something about your family life growing up. What did your father do? What did your mother do?
My father was working in a factory where he was a meister. I don't know how you explain that. So, he just put together how to make for men's suits,
Mm-hmm.
the stuff. So I don't know how to explain it in English, but he had a good job. We were not so hungry. That was something unusual. And we were living not like here, pretty comfortable.
Was he home with you a lot, or was he working all the time?
No, my father was working long hours. He was working from morning till night because there was a union on, but not for him. I did see him, but he was working hard.
And your mother, tell me what
My
she was
mother
like.
took care of the house.
And she cooked for you, and
She cooked, and she did everything, whatever is that. There was no wash machines, there was no dryers, there was no nothing, everything by hand. And what else?
and your grandparents?
Grandparents, I had grandparents, but I remember my grandfather from my father's side died about 3 years before the war, and my grandmother from my mother's side died in the ghetto. She was pretty old. There was not a holiday that didn't come out, Hanukkah, and give us money. It was a different. There was no cars, but they came up every couple of times. We used to live all together, pretty close. So if they didn't come to me, I used to go to them. No cars. So we used to go down there with the kids. We had a good time. I can't complain.
Tell me about the kind of religious observance. Was your family very religious?
My father was religious. He was religious, yeah. He was religious. They used to belong in a stiebel. You know what a stiebel is? They were all friends from kids. They built maybe about 35, 40 people. And my father used to belong. We used to go down there. Not me so often. But I had to go.
But your family kept kosher? And
Oh, yeah. Kosher food.
was your family very Zionistic?
What?
Zionistic? Was there a lot of talk about Israel?
Oh, yeah. We had pushkis, you know, those guys on the walls. And from Keren Kayam and Kerem, I can't remember, the whole wall was taken. How we were worried. I used to belong to an organization too.
What organization?
My organization used to call Gordonia. This is like Begin's party.
Mm-hmm.
I used to belong to it. I didn't belong because I liked it, because somebody told me when I was 8 years old, come on, we're going to see that stay there. If somebody would tell me someplace else, but it doesn't matter anyway. We were all of them. There was not, I can remember one who refused to be a Jew.
What types of activities did you do in these groups?
What kind of activity
Yeah.
I did?
Yeah, what did the...
I used to work in a wholesale store. When I finished school, about 14 years, my mother had a friend who had a big wholesale store, and I was taken there, and I was working there. And those people I saw in Israel with my wife, and I was there. Some of them were long died. I had a good job as a kid. I had money always, not enough, but I had the money. It was good. I went to a lot, but nobody beat me. No kidding. I'm not bragging. Nobody beat me.
Tell me about some of the things that happened.
They used to call, most of them, they used to call Jew, and sometimes they beat you up if you were walking on the street, and everything. Most kids, not growing up. The growing up could call you name, that's all. But if there was a fight, it's with the kids. 18, 20 years, they used to have a lot of fights.
What type of...
You cannot imagine. It's pretty hard to understand the life. It's pretty hard.
What type of high school did you go to? Did you go to a Jewish high school?
High school? Oh, yeah.
All Jewish?
All the Jews. It was the Jewish gymnasium. It was for girls and 2 for boys. And Hochsteinova. It was a lot in my hometown, was a lot. Maybe 5 or 6 or maybe more. But I didn't go there. First of all, it cost money. It was money. And second one, I didn't like it. I was glad that I go out by 14. That's enough for me. But I know I have friends in America who used to go in a Jewish gymnasium, and he's in Israel now, and he's working for the government. He comes over here once in a while. Whoever wants to, yeah. Whoever wants to go to school could go. He could go on a Fachschule, you know, a Fachschule. You could learn a trade. Trade. There was a school. There were a lot of activity. There were 270,000 Jews in my hometown. That's a city. And there was the Jews used to live most. Over here they call it a ghetto. It wasn't a ghetto. Jewish people used to live together, all together. I'm not saying good for, better not.
Did you go to cheder also?
Oh yeah, I went to cheder, and before I went to cheder, I had a teacher who came over an hour 3 times a week and tried to teach me Hebrew. But later on, I went to cheder. I remember in the morning I went to school, and then from 4 to 6 I went to cheder.
With your brothers?
Yeah. It's hard to understand for you the life, what we had over there. It's pretty hard. You cannot imagine this life. Restaurants and all that. We used to go outside like Pietkova. I told him I'm going to take the kids to. There was a main street, like Wisconsin Avenue. Pietkova call it. They used to go, it was not like here when people didn't go, they didn't have cars. We walked. There was no place to walk on the street. They used to walk. On this side, on the left side, Jewish boys and girls used to go. And on this side, Polish outside. Once in a while it came to a fight. But we were all together. In a small town where was not enough Jews, they were worse than in a big town like my town, where it was a 35% Jewish people, and they could fight. So if they catch you someplace out of town, where Polish people, and they knew that you are Jew, they beat you up. But in the city, we could make it.
You felt safe.
I say like I went through. I'm not saying, I'm not giving them credit. I know I got plenty with them too. But that was true is true. I was taken away by Warsaw. I was marching. There was a law, they gave a law between 18 and 45 we got to report to the army. So I was walking. There was no train. I was walking in Yom Kippur, September 18, I was taken to Germany. I was not in Lodz since then. Yeah, I was in Lodz when I jumped the train in 1941. There was pushing the Jews in the ghetto.
Okay, so you were taken away September 18th, 1939.
Right.
And they took you to Germany.
Right.
Correct? Where did they take you to?
I was in Germany in quite a few camps.
If you remember.
Ostpreussen, in Ostpreussen I was in Hagenau, and I was in Ravensbrück, plenty. Who can remember those camps?
What did you do in some of these camps? What kind of camps were they?
We didn't do most of them until we died, that's all. Most people died or get shot. And there was a camp, the first camp, I tell you this is a story. We came to this camp in September 1819, and we started chasing out there were Polish soldiers and a few Jews like me. And all of a sudden somebody called, "Alle Juden raus." So some Jews went out. I didn't go out, so they got beat up. And that camp was just built. It was one wire. They just built. You know, usually got two wires. They make two wires. And there was no toilet. There was everything. We were sleeping. They were not prepared to get. We were sleeping on the ground. So people has to go. And this is the truth. And people, when I go to Poland, I bring you something. When we get at night, has to go to the toilet. There was no toilet. So they went close to the wires. They were shot. So every morning we got 25, 30 people shot to death because they went to the. There was no toilet. They went to the wires. They got shot for that. They didn't do that. It was terrible.
Were you the only person in your family that went there? Where was the rest of your family?
The rest of the family was in the house. I worked out with my brother, the older one. We worked working together because the younger didn't have to go to the army. Me and my older brother used to, with a group of 12 people we used to go out. Polacks too. So when the German airplane came, started bombing, so we started spreading up. So I got spread out from my brother. I couldn't find him. So when we came to Brzezinę, they went home, and I went farther. Somebody told me go to Warsaw. So I went home. When I came back from Ostprussia, when I had jumped the train, and I asked what's happened, he said 2 Polacks came home with them, and I asked them then Polak, "Did you see Dudek?" "Oh, Dudek. Dudek is dead. We bury him." So he came home crying. And I saw him. After the 1941, they came. I don't know how they found me. You take up a wreck here and put it over there and from there over here. Anything. If you don't have to you do something. I used to work in a few places, raffinery, from oil. And I bombed. They used to make ammunition. There was all the kind of work they used to do. All the kind. They didn't give you for free. You couldn't stay free. There's a lot. I don't want to remember that, but it comes back. That's terrible.
Did you meet anyone that you knew in the camp?
Yeah.
People from your hometown who were at the camp?
I saw a lot of people. I saw a lot of people who I knew from Poland from before the war. Mm-hmm. But when I was liberated in 1945, and I was all over Germany, in every camp, I used to play soccer. I went through all the camp in American zone all over, and I couldn't find not even one person who was in the camp with me. Everybody was shot in that's true. Shot in Janowfordlask, it was shot. That's why I'm going to go to Poland to find out.
What were the conditions? Did you have different clothing when you were in the camps?
What camp?
The first camp that you were
The first camp? No. The first camp I used to wear my clothing. Mm-hmm. And I left, it was nice and warm. So I wore my clothing. And later on, I got some Polish soldiers' uniforms. A lot of soldiers died, killed. So I took the jacket, keep me warm.
What did you sleep on in the camps, the first camp?
What's that? There were camps where we used to sleep on a bar, on a roof picture, like this. And we were laying one another next to another. And some of them didn't have to sleep at all. You lay down on the floor, you lay on the floor.
And the food that you ate?
Food? There was food. No, not enough. There was five person bread.
5 what?
That big. That big bread divided by 5 people, and then soup. In the morning, at night, bread, and 12 o'clock soup. Was not enough. I jumped the train with another guy. No, I said I'm going to jump. I'm not going far anyway. Those whole guys were with me. And
You were in Germany when you jumped the train?
no, Lodge.
Okay, you jumped off the train in Lodz.
Lodge. I said I was born in Lodge, and the Polacks, they let them down. But the Jews, they didn't let them down. They didn't let any food to get.
I see.
Not the Red Cross was allowed to come over and get food. And from my train, there were 12 dead people already. So I said, it was in the morning, I said, I pray let it get dark. I want to jump the train. I'm not going. I was born here, and I'm not going farther. By 4:30, I was laying down without my shoes out, and this is the truth. A guy came over here and said, the train is moving. I opened up the eyes, it's dark outside. So I had a uniform, a Polish uniform. I said, who wants to change? I'm not going to jump with a train. So one guy gave me a raincoat, and one guy gave me a hat. And that's all I need. And I said, okay, I'm going. One guy told me, I'll go with you. So we went outside, and he said, he was first. I said, no, come. Nah, you jump first, he said. So I went out, and I jumped first. And after me, the other guy jumped first. And I was lucky. I don't know. We were lucky. We started moving and moving. I saw a gas lamp. So I moved to the gas lamp. So I saw a woman, a Polish woman. And I asked her, where? I knew Lodz. I was born there. I knew the main street all. So I was in Hojna. I said, listen, where is Żydowska ulica? I said, straight, left, and if I'm not at Żydowska, I know where to go. So I started moving and moving and moving until I found a star on a window for a woman, a Jewish star. So I know there's a Jewish woman. At 5 o'clock, I went down there and I spoke to him. I said, you Jewish? He said, yes. I said, how long you make walk in the street? He said, Jews can walk till 5 o'clock. Polish people, he said, you look good. You can walk till 8 o'clock. He was afraid to let me in. So he went back someplace, I don't know, and I started walking and walking and walking. I knew where I am. And I started walking. I came Piotrkowska, 160, by the main street. I saw German soldiers coming up. I said, German soldiers, I said, I'm not going to walk here. I moved to a different street, and I started walking the other street till I came to my, 2 hours took me. 3 hours walking, from 5 till 2, walking till 8 o'clock. When I saw soldiers going out from the movie, I went to cross the street. I said, I'm not going to make my house. So I went where the people in Israel live. I went down there and I knocked the door, and a woman opens the door. I said, is here Mrs. Heber? He said, yes. And then the door, she was a rich woman, rich people. She opened up the door and she see me and said, Dudek, what's happened? I said, I jumped the train. She said, come on in. We went in there. She gave me not food. She said, it was not even a shower. They were afraid too. They left the house, and I was laying down. I didn't lay down. I was looking for food. That's all. And I got till the next morning. She brought me some clothing, different, and I changed, and I went to my aunt. I was lucky.
Where was the train going? You said you jumped. Where
The
was
train
the
was
train
going, somebody told me, Janov Podlaski. Over there, in the meantime, some more people jumped the train, not too many. But most of them were taken to Janov Podlaski, and over there, the committee didn't have money to pay for the money. So they shot them, about 500 people. This was the first time. To me came a friend of mine, his father, and he said, Dudek, what's happened to my son? I saw a body on the Jewish cemetery over there. It looks like my son. I said, when I jumped the train, he was alive. So he sent a German, a Volksdeutsch. He was a tailor. he sent Volksdeutsch and he gave him some money or a suit, I don't know, and they told him, go see where they're going. Maybe they were in a different city, he can go pick it up, you know. So 3 days later he came back, he said they were shot. That's why I know they shot him. There's a long story. It's unbelievable that something like that could happen. And this was the first time in 1940.
How old were you then?
Huh?
How old were you at that point?
20.
You were 20 years old at that time?
Yeah.
What did you know about what happened to your parents at this time and your brothers?
I came home and I went to the people who are in Israel now. East Prussia. We went down there. Every year, every time we go to Israel, if they're still alive, they're dying too, older people. So she asked me, what did you do later? So I was down there and she told me my parents shipped out in a different city. So my auntie is there. So I went to my auntie. You should see you can imagine that when I knocked the door and she saw me. And so she told me that. And later on, maybe a week or later, they let know my mother. And my mother came and picked me up and we went to Kielce.
Now, where were Baruch and Daniel at this time?
Huh?
Where were Baruch and Daniel?
They were with my parents.
So your whole family was together then when you went to Kielce?
Just me.
No, when...
Now when I came back, everything was, we were all together. I came back in January, February. In February, so March, April, May, and they start taking to work. So I went to work with them.
With who?
I was working in a stone mine.
In Kielce?
In Kielce, yeah. Not for every day morning I had to report. I worked for stone mines, and there were a lot of stone mines. Most of the time I was working the stone mines, stove, breaking stone, cutting stone up. Most of the time. It was not too bad. But we worked during the day, and at night we were with our parents, with friends. There was no ghetto yet. Later on, they built a ghetto. And Łódź, the ghetto was in 1940, maybe March, April. I don't know when, because I left before. But it was March, April.
I see.
Were you able to take things with you when you went to Kielce? Were you able to pack?
I didn't have nothing.
What about your parents? Were they able to pack?
Whatever they could, they take it. Whatever they could. We couldn't take the furniture. Some clothing, some jewelry they had, that's all.
How did they feel about leaving?
How did they feel?
About leaving Łódź?
How
did they feel about the Nazis coming in and...
They didn't feel good. What they didn't feel. It was very bad.
The entire Jewish area was evacuated? Everybody was made to leave?
No, there was too many Jews. They didn't evacuate the Jews. From the city, in January, February, in March, they used to chase out from all over the city. If Jewish people used to live someplace else, maybe at 10, 20, they chased them out in the ghetto. All Jews got to go in the ghetto. And the ghetto was locked up, you know. So
you left before that happened?
I left before. Yeah.
Then what happened? You were working in Kielce.
Yeah. And then there was, in 1942 or 43, I don't remember anyway, they came in and surrounded the ghetto, and they started taking the Jews out. They told us that they go in a different city, and they pushed them in a crematorium. So they divided Kielce on 3 times. So my parents left the third time. So they took 7,000 or 6,000 at a time. And
so your parents were taken from you. You stayed, and they were taken.
They were taken from Kielce, yeah, and with my little brother.
With Daniel.
Yeah.
Where was Baruch?
With me. He was able to work. They picked up people who could work, and who couldn't work, women or whatever it is. They shipped them in a gas chamber.
They go.
If I would know that they go in a crematorium, I could save my little brother. I could hide him, but I didn't know. I didn't know. I could hide him. I could do anything.
Where were they taken to?
Treblinka.
Treblinka?
Yeah. Yeah, they were not taken in Auschwitz. They were taken in Treblinka. That guy who jumped first his name was Wasser, He had a sister, and he was young. He was also about 14 years old. And he used to work over there, filling up the clothing in a wagon, and he hid himself under the clothing. And they took him away someplace in the middle, and he jumped. And he came to Kielce, and he told the story us. And I said, give me a stick, let me hear, what kind of lie is that? I didn't believe it. How can this happen? So 2 days later, maybe 3 days later, another guy came back. And he said, tell the same story. I said, bro, that's true. We were maybe 1,000 people left over for work. We used to have a small ghetto. We used to live in that small ghetto.
Until what day? Until what year?
Maybe a year.
So that's now 1940.
43.
Okay.
43. And in end of 43, something 43, they liquidated that too. And I was shipped in, some people were shipped in Pjonki and all over, Stargevit. Me and the most of them, we were shipped to Kielce, Ludwikov, a factory from
Near
where you
Kielce?
make cars and all iron stuff. In the boss, the German, he was a terrific guy. He saved a lot of life. And he after the war, they let him live. He couldn't do more than he did. I tell you, he didn't do nothing to me. But if you need something, he came over. The day I remember the date when they liquidated, he almost cried. The 1944.
Right.
They liquidated. The Russians started coming. They were afraid. I don't know what's happened. They took us off, and some escape. I don't know. I haven't got no place to escape. We had a group, 12 people with 3 guns. I don't know if the guns were working or not, but we sent them to Puszta Świętokrzyska. This is a forest from Kielce to Warsaw. The German didn't go in there, so we sent in 3 guys with guns. And see how that is, or we can go down there too. 3 days later, one guy came back. He said, "They shot us."
Were these partisans?
Yeah, the partisans, the Polish partisans, AK. They used to call them AK. They killed the Jews over there. So we were down there till 1944, and then we shipped in to Birkenau, Auschwitz. We came over here and loaded us, and. The thing is a good thing that German wrote a letter, and this is true. You don't have to go through medical. They're all good help, because if they're going to go medical help, they push him right away. Nobody was killed, and we shipped us in a block. I remember the block 23. And every block was 1,000 people. We're laying on the bridges, like this. No bread, no straws, no nothing. And we were down there. I was down there maybe. I used to. There was they came in the couples from different blocks. They were told that they see a policeman who did beat up Jews. Jews. You know what I mean? There was couples. So they came in and they beat up those other guys. The blood was on him, and there was washing. And if anybody picked up his head, he got a pot or anything the couples used to throw. So when there was a lot of blood, he said, I need 2 guys to come over here. Everybody was afraid. So I said, hell, what can I really do? Nothing. So I went down there, and he said, from now on, you're going to sweep the floor here. Clean the floor. And I had a job. I got food. So I was down there maybe 8 days. And he came over, the couple, the big one. He said to me, give me 400 Persian bread. Go and get it. So I brought 400 Persian bread and said, give it away. We got those 400 people go to work. Outside the camp. They're not going to be in Auschwitz. They go someplace else. So I took the bread and I put it down there. And when I get my bread, I see my brother. I said, I throw away the bread and I stay in my line. I go with him. And that's way we were all together. We used to work in an oil refinery in there. For the beginning was bad, but later on that's all right. We could make it.
In Auschwitz, did you get a number
Yeah.
on your arm?
Yeah.
Could we see it?
Yeah. Not everybody got the numbers. Those people who were in Auschwitz, they got the numbers.
Now,
Some people got sick, fever. I don't know.
when you were in Auschwitz, do you remember seeing Mengele?
Who knows the name? I know a lot of Auschwitz. I didn't pay attention. I was not long in Auschwitz. I left Auschwitz to work, and then when they liquidated over there, the Russians started coming. They shipped me back in Auschwitz for a couple of days, and then we went to Germany, marching. We used to work in Sachsenhausen and all kind of Klinkerberg and all. Who can remember those all names? Yeah.
Were you working in each one of these camps?
Yeah, we were working.
What were the conditions like in this camp?
Don't ask. What was the condition? The condition was the same thing all over.
Tell
I
us.
was stealing more than working.
Tell us about it, what it was like in there.
If they would cut me, you know, when the army surrendered, they had a parachute with food. A parachute and a big box with chute, with inside food. I broke those food boxes. They didn't know. I covered it up with land and we used to run and I broke till I or a cigarette or candies, anything. If they would catch me, heck. We did anything, and not me just alone. Everybody did anything to make it. You could not live from them.
Were there selections in the camp itself?
Once in a while.
Tell us about the selections.
Well, people got sick in the camp, or people got skinny, they couldn't do the job, so once in a while there was a selection. They picked up 50 or 20 and sent them back to Birkenau, to Auschwitz, where they went to the gas chamber. I remember that.
How do you know that happened? How do you know they went to the gas chambers?
They didn't, where they go? They didn't send you.
Did you know what was going on?
Yeah, they didn't send them to give them better food.
How did you get that information?
Well, you're going to have to get the information. If he's sick and he cannot work, he gets hurt. He's dead.
Who did the selection?
A German, the SS man. After the liberation, I was sitting there and thinking, I said, what did you do? Then everything comes in my mind. You could pay your life. The SS man could kill you right away. Right away he would shot me. But I didn't think about it. That time when that happened, I didn't think about it. That's a long story to tell, huh? That's a long story to tell. I was from the first in 39, in a prison. And it was terrible. That prison over there in 1939 was sometimes worse than in the KZ.
Prison in Łódź?
No, this was in Ostpreussen. Was no place to sleep, no food, because they were not organized. People were dying like heck. After 3 or 4 days, they start coming, and we start piling up in a row, 10 people, and they was given one bread, and they broke up. That's what they gave. Terrible. Yeah. This is a story.
Do you have others you'll share with us?
Huh?
Do you have other stories?
I have stories I can tell, and this is not stories, this is true. Day and night, it doesn't go away, it comes and comes and comes. Like every day was a story, every day. We knew it then, we were shipped from one camp to the other. Like I was in Sachsenhausen, and one day they came and there were 40,000 people down there. And they took us in, and we started marching. Oh, I knew we were running away from something. I knew we were running away. And the camp was bombed. The camp was bombed by, I don't know by who, and there were a lot of people killed down there too, but at bombed. They didn't check it.
This was at Sachsenhausen. This was in Sachsenhausen? In Sachsenhausen.
What? They came, we were in camp. I was working during the day, and some people were working night. So one day, a plane came in, and they started bombing the camp. Maybe they thought this is army or what the hell. They start bombing the camp in the factory. And when we got, I ran out outside and I was laying in a hole. And when I got up, no soldiers were there. So we saw a lot of people dead. We saw a lot of people dead. And Sachsenhausen, that was in Sachsenhausen, no, Sachsenhausen. This was in Kielce. We started marching from Sachsenhausen. It took about 4 or 5 weeks, day and night. We were marching and marching with no food. I ate grass. I didn't have any to eat. It was grass not enough. And a lot of people were dying and killed. And when we came in by Hagenhof, someplace out Hagenhof, our city, and we got up in the morning once, and we were sleeping in the forest, and we got up in the morning, we didn't see not even one SS man. Everything is going. So we started marching on the highway. There were trucks loaded from people who run away, and we started moving on farther and farther, and we saw an American delegation from prisoners of war who had the flag, and they were marching. They knew the liberated. They were in prison too, and we were down there maybe about 2 days, a day and a half. Then the American came in.
About how many people were you at this time? How many people were marching with you?
How many? We left Sachsenhausen about 40,000 people.
40,000?
About 40,000. But I don't think so. Maybe 5,000 was left over. I don't know. 5,000.
What was your physical condition at this time?
No. There were very bad conditions. You work and you don't eat, and you don't drink. You don't sleep even. But if you're going to be in Florida, I'll take you to the gathering from those guys. That guy going to tell you. That guy going to tell you.
Where was your brother this time?
My brother was with me. He was with me.
I want to ask you a few more questions about the concentration camps that you were in. Were there any children in the camps with you, or any women with the camps?
What do you mean children?
Were there...
How old?
Tell me how old kids were there.
I didn't see any children, no children. And in 1944, in Mill, somebody told me that I was in pretty good shape, condition with this other guy. And I passed by and they called me. They're coming people from Germany, they said, from thy hometown. So I was maybe somebody, a relative, maybe a cousin, maybe anybody. So when they opened the gate that day, there were 14 years old kids. So when they let them inside, I told them they're going on the side. They're here in the United States. 9 kids are there. They're here. So this was the youngest I saw, 14, 15 years old. I didn't see any younger one. They didn't hold a younger one. I tell you a story, and this is from Hungary, a story. And I was outside, and a guy came to me. He was one of the famous singers in Hungary. He's still alive. He was a very good singer. He came in and said, Dudek, hart bei Nacht, heute night is Yom Kippur. I didn't know that. The kids, the people want me to sing Kol Nidre. I said, come on in. We went in. I was outside. We went in. I said, 8 o'clock. Everybody's going to be in bed. You and another guy are going to have 2 brooms. If something happened, you're going to sing Kol Nidre, and I'll go outside and watch it. I went outside, and nobody came. But when I came back, it was after Kol Nidre. He's alive. He was alive. So I said, if I catch him, he's going to sing for me now, Kol Nidre. No kidding. Because I saw a lot after the liberation in Bergen-Belsen. There were people who prayed, nobody knows it, and people for holidays. There were religious people, kids. Yeah, in mine territory, Kielce, where there were plenty of anti-Semitism. Over there was not. But in Lublin and someplace other places, different places, there were a resistant group. Yeah, there were. After the war, after they ate food, that food was no good. Thousands of people died because they ate. There are a lot of graves over there, 5,000, 2,000. They died. Some people died after the war by eating food. And I know in the main camp that the same thing happened. People died.
It's been 40 years, over 40 years since you've been liberated, since the war. Do you have any thoughts about all that has happened to you?
What's happened to me?
Yeah, do you ever think back?
Every night.
And what
comes back. Everything comes. I don't want to think about it, but comes. I chase away. It comes back something else. It's terrible. It's terrible. The memories. That's pretty hard. Some people can get don't think about it, but I don't know. I cannot. If I have a minute time, I lie in bed. It comes to me and I remember it.